Imagine a brand new nation, fragile and uncertain, stepping onto the world stage for the very first time. No established government, no tested system, just an idea: freedom. At the center of this bold experiment stood one man, chosen not just for his leadership, but for his character. This is the story of George Washington, the first president of the United States, who served from 1789 to 1797 and helped shape the foundation of American democracy. When George Washington took office in 1789, the United States was still finding its identity. The Constitution had just been ratified, and no one really knew how the presidency should function. Washington understood the weight of this moment. Every decision he made would set a precedent. From how he addressed Congress to how he organized his cabinet, everything mattered. He established the tradition of a presidential cabinet, bringing together trusted advisors like Thomas Jefferson as Secretary of State and Alexander Hamilton as Secretary of the Treasury. This system still exists today. But Washington wasn't interested in power for its own sake. In fact, he was reluctant to even become president. His goal was simple: to ensure the survival of the Republic. One of Washington's biggest challenges was building a functioning federal government from scratch. There were no clear rules, no precedents, only the Constitution as a guide. Washington had to interpret it carefully, balancing authority with restraint. Under his leadership, the federal court system was established through the Judiciary Act of 1789. The first national bank was created. The U.S. financial system began to stabilize. These weren't just policies, they were the building blocks of a nation. However, not everyone agreed with the direction the country was taking. Deep divisions began to emerge, especially between Hamilton and Jefferson. Washington had hoped to avoid political parties, fearing they would divide the nation. But disagreements between his own cabinet members led to the formation of the first political factions. Hamilton supported a strong central government and industrial economy. Jefferson favored states' rights and an agrarian society. These opposing visions gave rise to America's first political parties, the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans. Washington was deeply troubled by this division. He believed unity was essential for the survival of the young nation. Despite his concerns, he worked to maintain balance, often acting as a mediator between conflicting viewpoints. While the nation struggled internally, challenges from abroad also demanded attention. Europe was in turmoil, especially with the French Revolution. Many Americans supported France, but Washington chose neutrality. In 1793, he issued the Proclamation of Neutrality, keeping the United States out of foreign wars. This decision was controversial, but crucial. It allowed the country to grow stronger without being dragged into costly conflicts. Another major issue was tensions with Britain. British forces were still occupying forts in the Northwest Territory. To resolve this, Washington supported Jay's Treaty in 1795. While unpopular, it avoided war and stabilized relations with Britain. Washington's foreign policy set a lasting precedent: avoid unnecessary entanglements and prioritize national stability. Not all challenges came from outside the country. In 1794, a major domestic crisis tested Washington's leadership. Farmers in western Pennsylvania protested a federal tax on whiskey. The situation escalated into violence, known as the Whiskey Rebellion. For the first time, the federal government faced open resistance. Washington responded decisively. He led a militia force to suppress the rebellion, demonstrating that the government had both the authority and the will to enforce its laws. Importantly, he also showed restraint. Once order was restored, he granted pardons to those involved. This moment proved that the Constitution was more than just words. It was enforceable. Washington was re-elected for a second term in 1792, but by the end of it, he was ready to step down. In 1796, he made a historic decision. He chose not to run for a third term. This was groundbreaking. At a time when many leaders held power for life, Washington voluntarily gave it up. In his farewell address, he warned the nation about the dangers of political parties, the risks of foreign alliances, the importance of national unity. His message was clear. The success of the United States depended on the character and cooperation of its people. George Washington didn't just serve as the first president, he defined what the presidency should be. He showed that leadership requires humility, restraint, and a deep commitment to the greater good. By stepping down after 2 terms, he set a precedent that lasted over 140 years. By prioritizing unity over power, he gave the United States a chance to survive and eventually thrive. Today, Washington is remembered not just as a leader, but as a symbol of integrity and nation-building. The United States began as an experiment, and George Washington was its steady hand. His presidency didn't just guide a nation, it created a blueprint for democracy that still influences the world today. And that is the story of America's first president. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next video.